This is the Husqvarna Norden 901 Expedition, and it's basically a fancy extra spec version of the standard Norden 901 that we already reviewed on the channel and absolutely loved. So is this new Expedition version an improvement, or is the original still the best? Well, in this video, we'll go through some of my favorite things about it, and then at the end, I'll give you my verdict. But before we get started, I just want to say a massive thanks to Insta360 for supporting the channel and sponsoring this video. All the riding footage in this video is shot with the X3 360 camera, and I absolutely love using these to capture my rides. You've got a super wide lens on either side and it stitches them together to get a full 360 field of view. And then after you ride, you can download the footage into the smartphone app or the desktop editing software and reframe it and move it around and resize it. So there's not really as much of a worry about getting the framing right when you're actually out riding. Plus, with this awesome super robust mount that comes as part of their motorcycle accessory kit, the world's your oyster in terms of where you want to put it on the bike, and you can get some really creative viewpoints. Genuinely, this is the most fun way that I've found to make videos when I'm out on the bike, and it's super simple to use. So is the app. In fact, anybody can do it. So if you like the look of it, check out the link down in the description, and that link will also give you a free gift with every X3 purchase specifically for my viewers. So once again, a massive thanks to Insta360 for their support. Now, most of the fundamentals of this bike are shared with the standard Norden, and that's certainly a good thing when it comes to the engine. This is the LC8C parallel twin that you'll also find in the KTM 890 lineup, with KTM being a sister company to Husqvarna, and most of the bikes share common components. This, for me, is one of the best, most lively, most fun parallel twins on the market, and it makes 105 horsepower peak and about 100 Newton meters of peak torque. I think the thing that's really good about it though is they've given it a super snappy throttle response, which means it's always entertaining when you're out on the road. I've been mainly riding it in the standard street mode, and when you're accelerating through second and third, it's got the front end skipping around if you give it a good twist of the throttle, banging through the quick shifter. It is a lot of fun. It's also got quite a nice sound to it, this bike. It's not particularly loud, but it does have a nice rasp at the exhaust and a little bit of burbling and popping, and also it's a relatively distinctive sound for a parallel twin because of the 75-degree spacing between the cylinders, which helps to mimic the larger KTM V twins. Now, the chassis is also almost identical to the standard Norden 901, so you've got the same frame and swing arm, the same off-road bias spoked 21-inch front wheel and the 18 at the rear. You've got Pirelli Scorpion Rally STR tyres as standard, and also their own branded braking setup that's actually made by J1, but it's pretty decent, and you've got a pair of 4-pot radially mounted brakes up at the front there. But the big change, probably the headline change for this Expedition version, is this significant upgrade to the suspension. So whereas the standard bike gets this perfect good WP Apex fork and shock, genuinely good stuff, it's KTM's own in-house brand. You know, this bike gets WP Explore, which is the same suspension effectively as the very aggressively off-road focused KTM 890 Adventure R. So not only do you get more travel at both the front and rear, and of course that gives you a little bit more ground clearance as well, but the fork is also chunkier, so it's a 48mm fork as opposed to the 43 on the standard bike, and I think there's a little bit more adjustability. So on the shock, for example, you've got high and low speed compression damping adjustment. Clearly, if you're genuinely going to take your Norden off-road, then this one has a fair bit more capability in that regard. Now, naturally, there's a bit of a trade-off though, and that's that this bike is super tall. It sits at 875 in the low seat setting and 895 in the high seat setting, and there isn't a lowering kit in the accessories catalog. I think that's going to immediately rule it out for some people, and I totally understand that, especially if you want to load it up with luggage and a passenger. I'm about 5'9", and I can pretty much get both tiptoes down in the low seat setting, but really, if you want to plant it, you've got to get over to one side and get a foot properly down. But I will say, on the comfort front, I've put it as one of my favorite things, because once I'm on it and once I'm moving, it really does feel very natural to me. The rider triangles, so the relationship between the bars, the seat, and the pegs just feels super sustainable for decent distances. It's very upright, but yeah, every ride I've done, I've found it very, very comfortable, and also it makes for a very easy transition between seated and standing. Also, when it comes to comfort, you'll be glad to know that on this Expedition version, the heated grips and the heated seat come as standard, and it's really nicely integrated into the switchgear and dash. Obviously, if you're touring in colder climates or if you're doing those winter commutes, then that's a massive asset. And I'd say the only slight shame is that you don't get the passenger seat heated as standard as well. That's something you get on the Tiger 900, for example, at a relatively similar price point. And I've actually got it on my Tiger 800 XCA, although I will admit, when it's actually that cold, no one really wants to come out for a ride on the back. So it doesn't really get used that often, and perhaps Husky have got this one right. Now down here, another nice extra as standard on the Expedition version is this bash guard. Nice and thick. I think it says it's 4mm thick aluminium, and it'll give you plenty of protection. So firstly, from debris from the front wheel at the front here, it also extends right under the bottom to give you a little bit of like rock protection if you're riding off-road, but also it wraps up around this big fuel tank that hangs low either side. That helps to keep the center of gravity quite low on this bike, which does help with the handling. But the downside is, if you drop it, of course, it's a little bit vulnerable, but this is going to do an excellent job of keeping it nice and safe. And of course, if you're out on trails, you really don't want to puncture your fuel tank, so this is a very nice accessory indeed. Now we've also got the center standard as well. I don't think I need to say too much about this one, but of course, extremely valuable for repairing the bike if you're in a remote location. And then at the back here, we've got this rather snazzy looking soft luggage that's rack mounted. And again, this is standard fit on the Expedition. Now it's not huge at 18 liters each side. And I will say it bounces around quite a bit, even on the road. If you hit speed bumps or, you know, potholes and things like that, you do hear it wobbling around. But I think, given that it comes with the bike anyway, I'd gladly take it. It's not a substitute for full 3-piece luggage. If you do want to go proper touring, there's the Touratech accessories in the Husqvarna catalogue if you do want to spec it out with proper hard luggage. But look, for short trips, to keep a change of clothes in, or to keep your waterproofs in, or that kind of thing, I think it's a nice little extra to have thrown in, and they do look quite smart. They sort of complete the look. And if you don't ride over winter, they can always double as a Christmas stocking. Now also thrown in, you've got this more touring focused windscreen, which I've got to admit, I probably wasn't expecting that much from. I mean, it's not particularly big, and also it's not adjustable either, so it's fixed in terms of height, but actually it does a pretty good job of keeping you protected from the wind at sort of 70-mile-per-hour cruising speeds. And this little vent in the middle there, designed to reduce buffeting, certainly seems to do its job. I'd also say the width of the bodywork down here, and also the width of the tank down low, does a really good job of keeping your lower body out of the wind as well. And I think also the screen and the luggage and that sort of thing really contribute to the looks. It gives it that exploration kind of vibe, that go anywhere sort of look. And I think it is a really excellent looking motorcycle. It's been a real conversation starter when I've been out and about. Also on the Expedition version, you specifically get this new graphic treatment on the bodywork there. Gives it a little bit of a lift versus the standard version. And I also think the blue works very nicely as well. And overall, I think this might be the best looking adventure bike currently on the market. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. And I will say that attention to detail and the sort of Scandi design flair extends to the software as well. I really like the way that the dash is laid out and designed, and it's actually quite fun and intuitive to use. There are plenty of settings, plenty of riding modes to choose from. You've got the custom Explorer rider mode as well, which allows you to dial in all your favorite settings. You've got connectivity features available as well if you so wish. But for me, it's never felt overwhelming or confusing. I really like the way that they use little graphics of the bike to help you understand which setting you're currently changing. And like I say, it just feels a little bit more light-hearted to use than just a big long list of text. So it's looking like a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it, this Expedition version? The standard bike comes in at $12,699, whereas this comes in at $13,599, so that's a 900 quid difference. And admittedly, you know, 13.5 grand is a lot of money for a motorcycle. You're getting towards, you know, beyond actually Africa Twin money, but you got to say you're getting a great motorcycle with a lot of extra spec and features and accessories for your money. In fact, I actually went on the configurator for the standard bike and I spec'd it up with as many similar items as possible. So the center stand, the heated grips, the heated seat, the luggage, the GPS bracket, the skid plate, a windscreen deflector, and the Explorer software pack. And it was actually getting on for close to 15 grand. And that's without the big significant upgrade on this bike, which is that WP Explore suspension. That alone is probably worth, you know, hundreds if not thousands. But the thing is, I'm not actually sure that this is the one that everybody should go for. The big challenge is the seat height. 875mm in the low seat setting is going to be too much for a lot of people. And having had this for the last couple of weeks or so, I have found it a little bit wearying to be constantly trying to balance, and especially when you're trying to move it around. I did some photos the other night on a bit of an incline, and it was just a little bit of an inconvenience. Also, out on the road, this bike does sit tall. I've maxed out the damping on the fork because otherwise realize it pitches around quite a lot. And so I think most riders need to be very honest with themselves about what sort of riding they're actually going to be doing. If you genuinely want to do some pretty serious off-roading on a Norden, and if you're comfortable with a pretty tall bike, then I think given the value for money and all those little extras you get for that 900 quid on top, it really does look like a very compelling purchase. But if you're mainly doing road riding and you just like the sort of adventure stance and the looks of it, and maybe the way it feels in terms of the riding experience and the upright ergonomics, perhaps the way that the standard Norden sits a little bit lower from a practical perspective, but also the way that that affects the riding dynamics might mean that it's actually a better purchase. As always though, I'd love to know down in the comments which one you go for, so do let me know. And if you want to see a review of the standard bike that I shot with Tim last year, I'm going to link to it on the screen here so you can give it a click, give it a watch. Many thanks for watching today, and we'll see you in the next one.